uncle, husband, friend, dad, the boss. And for me, he'll always be wild man. When my mother and I first got to Houston, we thought we were going to get thrown out of the hospital because we were laughing so loudly, and the nurses kept coming in and out and checking on us. Really, they wanted in on the party. And he tells us this story about Keith Richards, and he's hanging out on a yacht with a bunch of guys from Atlantic Records. And Keith Richards is so intoxicated that he can't even make it to the dance floor. So he gets these two Amazon women, like one under each arm, and has them drag him around the dance floor. And in this perspective, I was one of those Amazon women, and Uncle Lee was Keith Richards. And I'm dragging him around the dance floor one more time. So, no matter what everybody says, he'll always be welcome to me. And each one of us can tell a story. Thread, so to speak, in this man's life. Some dark and some light, but when you look at it in perspective, the tapestry is quite beautiful. And he loved to love. He loved music and food and New Orleans, family, road trips, nature. And when he loved with all of himself. When he laughed with every inch of his body. When he fought with everything he had. And he reminds me of that Dylan Thomas poem, do not go gentle into that good night. And if you guys are not familiar, it's do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at close of day, and rage against the dying of the light. Though wise men at their end know that dark is right, because their words had forked no lightning they, do not go gentle into that good night. Good men at last wave by, crying how bright. Their frail deeds might have danced in Green Bay, and they rage against the dying of the light. While wild men, who caught and sang in sun and flight, and learned too late they grieve it's on its way, do not go gentle into that good night. Grave men, near death who see with blinding sight, blind eyes could blaze like meteors and be gay, and they rage against the dying of the light. And you, my father, there on this sad height, curse, bless me now with your fierce tears, I pray. Do not go gentle into that good night, and rage against the dying of the light. And he was the toughest man I ever knew. I am a very private person, and as was Uncle Lee, and I'm also very good at keeping secrets. But today, I'm going to tell you one of his. We all know that he was very organized and methodical about his plans and his lists. But when it came to his treatment and his diary, he was downright OCD on steroids. Everything from when he ate that morning to the nurse's name, who took it, what time of day. And he said he did it to keep his mind active, but I knew different. He had the rarest, most aggressive form of AML leukemia that anybody's ever seen. And by the time he got to MD Anderson in Houston, he only had months to live. And he was willing to try anything. And some would say, obviously to prolong his life, but what we forget is he was a chemist. And what better subject to conduct an experiment than the chemistry and the resilience of the human body. So he endured one experimental treatment after another, 14 total, hoping for a breakthrough, but understanding chemistry. And it was important to him to be a statistic, a guinea pig, so to speak. And care of patients after him would benefit, enduring every single side effect, knowing the inevitable outcome. So again, I say, toughest man I ever knew. So when we leave this room, I encourage you all to please tell stories to one another so that each one of us can experience somebody else's thread in this tapestry. You know, he spent his whole life trying to be somewhere, trying to make a difference, trying to leave a legacy. And he may not have changed the world, but he changed me. I miss him.